Your Twitch channel logo sucks. Let's talk about that. Before I get into the video real quick, I just wanted to tell you all that I'm live most weeknights on twitch.tv/PattyRiceberg. Links in the description below. But if you have any comments, follow-ups, questions, critique, feel free to find me there and just let me know how you feel. There's a time when you'll need to upgrade your logo. There's a time when you'll realize, hey, maybe this thing I did kind of stinks. I'm a graphic designer. I did my logo pretty quickly for my channel, and it was more just as a placeholder. The idea being that I did something that would fit the channel, would work with style that I liked, but not necessarily knowing if it was going to be indicative of my content. Just wanted to throw something together in about 30 minutes. Currently in the process of redoing my own logo. So right there with you. Where most of you are going to go is you're going to go right to Fiverr. I don't blame anyone for going to Fiverr. It fits most budgets. Most streamers, you know, your payouts aren't huge. You're reinvesting in new equipment, a new microphone. You want to get some better lighting, better camera. All these things are totally understood. I want to talk about why falling into the same trap of getting the logo that everyone's getting may not be the best solution for your channel, and talk about some of the issues with the trends that aren't necessarily the best reflection of your content. So the two trends I want to talk about that I see most channels going through is the esports style logo and then the overly illustrated portrait. So let's get into the esports style logo first and its kind of issues and hangups. Not to throw shade at any of these Fiverr creators, but this is to kind of talk about this trend. So I don't personally hold a grudge against anyone who's creating on Fiverr. I understand the reasons why they do the things they do and how they have to create things, because how competitive the pricing is on Fiverr really prices out a lot of really good designers. So these esports style logos that you see a lot of, they really start to blend together. They really get kind of crazy in colors, kind of crazy in designs, and they can be pretty fun. The problem is that there's two main things to address with these. One, they don't scale well. So if you think about Twitch, most of the time when you're seeing logos, you're seeing them on the side. You know, if I'm looking for something new, if I'm scrolling through, I'm trying to discover someone, you know, some people just have portraits, but these little indications are really all you get for channels. And that's to say that the large part of where they'll live is in small formats. Obviously, when you're streaming, if it's going to be on your live page, it's going to be pretty small. You know, your gameplay or whatever you're filming, recording is, you know, the largest percentage of the screen. You know, maybe your webcam is 10 to 20% unless you're doing just chatting. But this logo is going to exist in a very small percentage, 5 to 10% max on your screen. And so these logos that are really, really illustrated, the smaller and smaller they scale down, the worse and worse they get, because the amount of detail it's trying to retain at such a small size becomes unrecognizable. The other thing is that it really sells an esports mantra that I feel like most Twitch streamers don't fall into. You know, there's people that are competitive and there's people that fit in this area, but if you're not doing like hyper competitive esports as part of a team, this kind of sells you as a team instead of a sole individual. If you're more personable, you read chat, then these logos kind of do you a disservice. They kind of sell you as something that you're not. All that to say, they may not sell what's actually good about your content. Maybe you are an esports thing. Maybe you're a grand champion for Rocket League and you want something that shows how good you are and fits that. Then maybe that is a good fit. But a lot of times these scale really poorly and they don't work well, especially for mobile. And that's the thing we have to think of largely right now, is how many people are watching on mobile. It's the thing that you see streamers move towards. You see a lot of streamers now are streaming at 900p. The reason being is that scales better for mobile devices. So if we're scaling our content better for mobile devices, we're scaling the actual stream better, shouldn't we be scaling the logos better for those smaller devices? So that's the first one I'll go over, is that kind of esports style. Those are kind of the hangups with it. It's overly illustrated. The other hangup with it is that most of the time it's not unique. These say like unique cartoon mascot logo for Twitch. And something, you know, like this is like a Sasquatch kind of character. You know, if we go through a few of these, this is, I'm not sure what type of fish this is, but I know for a fact that if I pull up Shutterstock, I type in bass vector, I'm going to find a lot of things really similar. Now, this is more fishing oriented, but let's say I type in esports. Oh, we need to switch it to vectors. You're going to start to see a lot of logos like this. Yeah, Assassin Ninja Esports. This is definitely someone's Twitch logo. 100% of the time. White wolves, raccoons. And the thing is, the reason I bring this up is that most of the time, the people that you're paying for something on Fiverr just have a Shutterstock account. And they're pulling something for $10 or less on Shutterstock. And then they're just changing out the text for whatever your Twitch channel is. And if that's all you want, that's fine. Maybe I'll do a video on how to buy one of these and swap out the text if that's what you're looking for. But I feel like for most people, most creators, this is not necessarily what they think they're getting. You know, they think that whenever they're paying someone on Fiverr, they're really getting a custom illustration. You know, they're really getting all these things put together for them. When in reality, they may just be taking one of these straight off of Shutterstock or taking two of them and recoloring, and that's a super, super simple thing. So that tends to be the issue with the esports style logos, is that they are overly illustrated, and a lot of times these Fiverr sellers are selling you something and telling you that it's unique, when in reality, it tends to be ripped. It's not that they don't have the copyright for it, but it is that deception that comes with it. So let's get into the other style I see a lot of, which is this kind of illustrated portrait. And if we want to talk about limited use, we have the same issues with this with scaling. It's very detailed and it looks cool. It looks cool for posters. But again, when you get into scaling down for small formats, these do not work well. This will not work well on mobile. This doesn't work well. Looking at this one, I can't read what this says as it is currently because the effects on it are so heavy. A lot of times bad designs are covered up with a lot of effects. It's a bit disingenuous to kind of throw some flashy things on screen instead of actually doing something that works black and white. So these tend to be over the top illustrations that you can even see on here. This gets completely lost, and this would be smaller on the following page. Obviously this is showing all the assets, but I'm having a hard time looking at this, you know, at a size that's larger than it would be for the most part. These overly illustrated things also have a different issue, which is the fact that they can't coexist with you on camera. You wouldn't put your name on your page twice. You wouldn't, you know, have two webcams of yourself. But the idea that you would have a camera of yourself and then also have this illustration of yourself is kind of ridiculous. It doesn't work to coexist with you. It kind of competes with you. Are people supposed to look at you, or are they supposed to look at, you know, this caricature of you? It's a bit awkward, is what I'm saying, versus a logo that can support your style and your content. This just repeats what you already have in your webcam. It's not necessarily a reinforcement of your brand ideals. That's kind of the two issues. These are the two things I see a lot of people ordering on Fiverr. I understand, because this is affordable. And going to a design firm and paying, you know, hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars for a new logo isn't viable for most creators, especially at a smaller size when you're growing and you're trying to figure out where do you need to put your investments in. So we know that some of these esports things can be ripped in here, and we know some of the issues with the trends on Fiverr. Let's get into some good logo designs and good branding. Cloaksy recently had a rebrand done and has some different stream pieces built for him by a larger firm. This is obviously not indicative of what most people can afford, especially a growing channel or a small channel. Knowing that this costs thousands of dollars might deter some people, but it's still good aspirationally to look to what's done well and how we can apply that for smaller channels. So Cloakzy's logo is really simple typographically, but it's really, really bold and stylized, and the elements support it. So when you're thinking about what you want in your logo, if you already have an overlay that you've either built or paid for, sharing that with whoever's designing your logo is huge, because they can support that. If they already know what you like in your overlay, they know what you like in your cam, they know what you like, whether you've paid for those things, which I think is a great place to start, on, Stream Elements, Nerd or Die, Streamlabs, wherever you're picking this up from. Those things can really help. So Cloakzy's rebrand has a lot to do with his personality. So it may not be the most wowing thing on its own, but with all the elements that support it, it makes something truly unique. I love this little lightning bolt, and I love this kind of punk rock skater feel to it. And, these elements on their own feel pretty good, but when you add in, the bombs, you add in these sort of scratched punk effects to it, it really hits on Cloakzy's personality. It hits on his content. It hits on, what his chat has grown to expect from him, so that new viewers can kind of get an idea of who he is, even just through these elements. So maybe he's focused on his game at the time. These things kind of tell him it's not that Cloakzy's edgy, it's that he's kind of fun, he's kind of ADD, and all these different elements that support who he is as a person and what the content he creates really help to do a better job of selling him as a streamer. The other one I wanted to get into as well for great branding is Dr. Lupo. Dr. Lupo has a great monogram design versus Cloakzy's word mark. Dr. Lupo's has a clear D and L for Dr. Lupo, and then has this pulse mark to reinforce the doctor in these things. He has a really kind of modern touch with the gradients. It's something pretty common we see now as a trend, but it's not an overused trend in how it's done here. But what's great about this is that when I look on my Twitch page, when I go on Twitch, I see Dr. Lupo on, I can recognize and read this logo. I know that this is TP. It says TP. And I know that this is a photo of him. But this as his actual mark is not necessarily awesome, because it doesn't look super great on a browser, on full screen on a browser. And you're going to have those same issues on mobile. Dr. Lupo's scales well, small, it works well, it can coexist with him on cam, it can live without him and support his brand. It's maybe a little bit dry at times, but it's recognizable, which is huge. Whereas Cloakzy's really fits his personality. I don't think it's that Dr. Lupo's doesn't fit his personality. I just think it does a better job of being very minimal. It's very recognizable. You could draw it, you could tell someone else what it is, and they could have a very clear understanding of what it is. So it has great marks for recognizability in that. Let me go over how these things can be applied and what you could do to learn them. So I don't really want to pull someone else's logo and talk about it. I want to go over where we can have a successful logo that hits on things that make you unique and things that can tie in. So these are not for streamers. This is just to talk about logos that I've done and how you can approach the same ideas that you want to hit on and make something unique and support your content, and view it more as design and less as trend following for this. So this is a logo I did for a capital firm, and the idea is that the name of this is Holland Course Capital. So I'm going to go over, this is actually all the logos I presented to them. My presentations for logos look different now, but the idea was Holland Course Capital, and they already had a tagline they wanted to go for, which was stay the course. There's a really clear connection with navigation with this idea of staying the course ended up leading me to doing a compass rose for this, which I kind of talked over with the client. They really liked that idea. And so this idea of staying on course with your investments, taking a really simple compass rose that was kind of reduced to then make a really, really strong word mark that can get smaller and smaller and still be recognizable. It can work, 2 color, it can work 1 color. And those things are really important because it helps fit the need of what we talked about for Twitch, which is that it works at different sizes. This is the same idea, except instead of the compass rose, the inside dial of it, this is the outside dial. It's kind of a different interpretation. This is actually the one the client went with, as you can kind of see. This is the final. So they took the color palette from the first one and the design of the second one and combined them together. So same idea, just applied differently. Staying the course, staying on track with your capital investments. This is a more serious mood, which fits the realm that they're in, versus, we talked about Cloaksy being a little bit more fun, his personality, and that's kind of more what we're going to tend to see unless you're a very serious streamer. If you're, doing music, or your band, or you're doing like law advice, whatever you're using Twitch for, this might be more indicative of what you're going to get, or what you should be looking for, I should say, in a logo. Wanting to talk about things that make you unique. This is one of my favorite logos that I've designed. It was for a company called Game Plan Realty and Game Plan Homes. I was a former NFL linebacker who started flipping and selling homes, and had 2 parts to this business. Game Plan was like the parent company, and then they had Game Plan Realty and Game Plan Homes, which dealt with the acquisition and flipping of homes and then selling them as well. So I broke it out into 2 different color palettes. So the overall company has the red and the blue. Realty has the blue. Homes has the red, and then they have their own kind of branding within that. And this idea that you're having a former NFL linebacker selling homes to take X's and O's, something very indicative of his personality, something that he shares pretty common with people, and then break that out into elements. So you have the home that's clearly formed by this, but then you have X's and O's as elements that are carried throughout. This is a great thing where this is obviously on paper, this is for business cards, but you can take these same elements and think about it in the form of a Twitch channel. They could be your cam border, they can, be part of your stingers, and those little tiny elements that can reinforce your brand and can fit your style, but also say what's unique about you with them. So how can you apply these different elements we talked about for logos? Well, knowing what makes you unique as a content creator, knowing what differentiates you as other creators on Twitch, as everyone's playing video games or doing just chatting, knowing what makes you unique is huge. The hugest thing for graphic design is being able to take 2 unrelated things and tie them together cohesively and make a logo that is unique but also memorable. So knowing what can separate you from others and knowing what can make you stand out but also perfectly say what you do well. Those are huge. You can start drawing these elements on your own, start thinking about symbolism, and really don't settle on your first idea. One of the largest things as well for graphic design is that you don't want to settle on the first thing. The first thing that comes to mind is normally the first thing that comes to everyone else's mind, which is why you see everyone making these same trend decisions on logos. The first idea that people have for their logo is to go get something esports or to go get this portrait done. And we don't want to settle on those. So think about what makes you unique. Ask your chat what they appreciate about you. Tell them you're doing a rebrand. Tell them you're trying to figure out what keeps them coming back. Initiate that conversation to see what makes you a good content creator and what makes your audience receptive to the content you're making. Second, take the elements that you do already have, whether you've been looking at purchasing or already have purchased, and show those to the design team or a designer that you'll be doing your rebrand with. Already having those elements in place that you want to use gives them a step up and keeps them from kind of designing in the dark. Sharing those ahead of time, sharing what you find out from your chat about your personality, any ideas you may have about what you want to apply for your branding is huge. Or share other Twitch streamers' works that you like. Take the things that you like and work on explaining why you like them. So that way you get a better understanding of subconsciously why you do enjoy that and why you resonate or identify with it. Start working through what makes you unique, and this will not only make you a better content creator, but will also help to show off in your designs what does indeed resonate with you. So that way the audience that you see and share it with can resonate with them as well. I hope that this video helped you guys out, and I hoped that it helped give you a better understanding from a designer's perspective on your rebrand and logo design. If it did, please feel free to drop a like and follow or subscribe here on YouTube and also over on Twitch, on twitch.tv/PattyRiceberg. Please come over there with any questions you have or just drop it in the YouTube in the comments section down below. Thanks, and I'll see you later.